I think people wait too long to go to therapy. And of course, I'm going to say that because I am a proponent of mental health, but I think people wait too long. I think people, one either, especially us women, are wearing this superwoman cape and I got it. I could do it. I've been through worse, blah, 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 blah. Girl, go talk to somebody and stop it. Hey, I'm Neca Smith, and welcome back to the Great Big Life TV, where we talk about all things midlife transition. And as we think about transitions, I want us to talk today about midlife and mental health because midlife is such a transitional time. There's so many things that are happening externally, and then there are some things happening internally, right? If you've watched any of my videos, I talk about internal and external transformation, transition, the whole 9 yards. So go back and watch those, my first 5 videos. But when I think about or thought about those transitions, I really think about mental health. And I don't know if I've shared this, but I will. So I was a licensed professional counselor, a therapist, for about 10 or 11 years. Then I became a mental health coach for a few years after that. So I have a good 20 plus years of experience as a mental health practitioner. I don't do it now, but definitely, had private practice, saw clients, all ages, sexes, races, everything you can think of. And when we were in graduate school, we took a class called Lifespan. And I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s taking that class. And while I was a good student and probably got a good grade on my test, when we went through the midlife phase of it, I'm pretty sure I checked out because I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about because I'm 28. And man, I need to go back and read that book, right? But no, seriously, even someone who was a practitioner in mental health, and I worked with people who were in midlife, even though I was younger before I even got to this phase. I didn't have a real clear understanding of what it was actually like, right, to be in this phase of your life and all of the things that are going on and how it really impacts your mental health. And just a quick disclaimer, this is not medical advice, mental health advice. I'm not your therapist. I'm not telling you what to do. This is me educating you. This is just education. This is not advice or treatment. And with that in mind, I really want to dig into that today. So let's start with the external changes and transitions that are happening. There's a lot of change that happens that you would not have dreamt up for yourself. They're not goals that you set for yourself to change at this phase in life. All kinds of things: relationship changes, career changes, health changes, family changes, world changes, things that you hadn't planned for. One of the things that comes to mind are relationship changes. You see a lot of people uncoupling or separating or divorcing during this time. They might have been together for a good 20 years, right? They're making that decision to change. That is something that can impact one's mental health. Now, if you're the person that's ready to leave that relationship, all right, maybe you won't have that impact. But for that person who, like, this is not what I had planned, that impacts you. Then there are career changes. If you were a high performer, top performer, high potential, you were that girl, honey. Everybody was calling on you. Your name was on everybody's tongue. You had it all together, and you get to this phase in your life where you are not the it girl, you or the it woman. You are a cog in a wheel to somebody, and just that flip of a switch changes. You might have been laid off, right? You might have been let go. Your value isn't seen to the world the same way. And so, again, as I always say, if you're allowing other people to value who you are versus you valuing yourself, you're going to have a hard time, right? That's going to impact you emotionally and or mentally. Then there are our health changes, just our bodies, right? I've talked about perimenopause and menopause, all of those changes that you cannot do anything about. Your body is just going through its adult puberty and the phase it goes through. And men have their own too. It's not just us ladies, but we're all going through this shift and this change in our bodies, and that can certainly cause some, depression, some fear, even with those changes. Then one of the other pieces I think about is grief. This is a time when you start losing people. People are passing away that have been close to us. Some parents, friends, which is always losing parents and grandparents, definitely hard. When you start losing friends, it's just surprising. It's just shocking. All loss is hard, but we just start losing people, and that grief is there. And grief is normal, right? So it's normal. It's a phase you go through, and I don't know, I don't know if you ever really get over losing someone, right? I've lost, my grandmother and my grandfather, two of the pillars in my life. They raised me, so that still, can be hard, but I'm definitely not in the place I was the day that I heard it, right? Or 2 years after that. But still, right, I have my moments. But if that grief goes beyond what it should, then that could lead to, some more depression, right? And then there's this sandwich generation. So if you are a parent, right, raising your children, and then you are a caretaker for a parent, another relative, a sibling, someone else, right? You're kind of in that middle. And so that leads to quite a bit of overwhelm, a lot of overwhelm that can be debilitating. Emotionally and mentally at times, because it's like I got to show up. I have to be here. I have to do these things, and it can be very hard to take care of yourself. And the first thing that'll definitely go will be your mental health, right? So those are just a few things that can occur um, externally that's impacting your mental health. And I want you to think about how these things are impacting you right now, if you're going through these things, or if there's something else that's happening. If there's something else. The next group of changes are those internal changes, those things that are internal to us. And because I work with high performing, high achieving, overachieving, overperforming women in midlife, one of the things I've noticed is that they wear a mask. That I can do it all. I can be it all. I can have it all. You can, but not at the same time. That's another story. But um, when you are an overachieving, overperforming woman, particularly in middle age, you realize that that level that you achieved at, either one, is not rewarded the same way, which impacts you, or two, you can't perform the same way, or three, you don't want to perform in the same way. So if you have been wearing your super girl, super woman, super person cape for the last 40 years, 45 years, 30 years of your life, and you're at this place where, again, it's not rewarded, you don't want to do it, you can't do it, whatever it is, it becomes almost like an identity crisis. Because if I'm not achieving, if I'm not getting promoted, if my name isn't, on the big screen, if I'm not, being talked about in a positive way, then who am I? Right? And that can certainly take a toll on your mental health, because you're facing situations that you used to be able to handle easily, you can't anymore. And if you're dealing with some brain fog, you are definitely going to have some struggles there, right? And I'm not trying to be negative or anything like that, because I am definitely, try to be as positive as I can, but I also try to be optimistically realistic in that these things impact how you see yourself and feel about yourself. And if you don't take a different perspective, a growth mindset towards these changes, then you can, find yourself in a state of a deep depression, which is what we don't want. We want to be able to deal with sadness, right? And deal with the things that we don't like in a way that is healthy, right? Another internal change for some people can be if you have been a yes person, a yes girl, a yes woman to everything, wearing this mask of everything's okay, it's fine, I'm great, I'm wonderful, knowing damn well that you are not. You are not okay. It is not wonderful. And you cannot make it another day wearing that mask. That can certainly take a toll on your mental health for certain, because you're holding on too tight to things that you shouldn't, because you're trying to make other people feel better. You don't want to make anybody else feel bad. You don't want to inconvenience anybody or those kinds of things. And that's not your stuff. But the more and more you hold on and don't express who you are and how you feel and be vulnerable, then that is going to come out some way. And it usually starts somewhere with your mental health and your mental wellness and your emotional wellness. So if you are one who wears a mask or realize you've been wearing a mask, you either been wearing a superwoman cape or this nice girl mask or whatever it is, and it's no longer working for you, and you're trying to continue to stay true to that because that's who I've always been, you're changing. You don't have to do that. Don't hold on to that. It's going to harm you more than it's going to help you. It is no longer helpful for you anymore. It's no longer helpful. So let's find the things that are helpful. So let's talk about how to recognize if like the signs of changes in my mental health, right? What are some signs, some things I need to pay attention to? If you're having difficulty sleeping, different than usual. Now, if you always had difficulty sleeping and it's not your thing, but if this is something new for you, and check that off. If you are having mood swings, now again, if you are in menopause, perimenopause, and you're not, you haven't regulated it with any type of hormonal therapy or anything like that, it could be that, but you still need that information. But if it isn't, something to check in about, right? If they're more intense than they should be. If you're having more increased anxiety about the future, worried about the future more than you have been or used to be, something to check into. If you're feeling stuck, trapped in your current situation or just in your life in general, just feeling like there's no way out, I can't get out, definitely something you want to do is to check in with yourself and more than likely a therapist. Another sign is if you're having difficulty concentrating. Again, I have to preface this with if you are experiencing hormonal shifts and changes, that could be it. But if it is not, then it could be some things that are impacting your mental health, right? The signs are beginning to show. So those are a few things I want you to just check in with yourself right now. So we talked about a lot, right? But what can we do about it? What actions can we take? One thing is to assess yourself. I'm really big on awareness, having self awareness. You know you better than anybody else knows you. You know how you really feel. You know what you really think. And you know when something is off. And if you're having difficulty realizing something is off, it is likely because you're too overwhelmed. And it might be time to take a moment to step back. So I am giving you permission to take a step back right now. You have permission to take a step back and become aware of how you feel. The world doesn't give us permission often, us women who have been out here trying to change the world, doing all of the things. But it ain't even the world, really. It's you not giving yourself the permission. So acknowledge these changes. Be vulnerable with yourself. It's okay. Don't brush this off. It's just a phase. It's just, I'll get over it. Take this seriously. Your feelings are real and they deserve the utmost attention. Thing I would recommend is to build a support network of folks who will be there, right? Who will listen. Whether you join a support group of other people that are divorced or other people experiencing grief, or if you go to a Bible study that focuses on that, right? Or a prayer group or something like that. Or it could just be friends. It could just be friends that you trust, that you can talk to and be vulnerable with. Lean on those relationships and lean on those people, but you don't want to go through this alone. Last, but especially not least at all, is to seek professional help if you feel as though it has truly become too much, or if you just need someone to talk to. I think people wait too long to go to therapy. And of course, I'm going to say that because I am a proponent of mental health, but I think people wait too long. I think people, one either, especially us women, are wearing this superwoman cape and I got it, I could do it, I've been through worse, blah, 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 blah. Girl, go talk to somebody and stop it. Then I think, for us super religious people, that we can pray it away and God will take it away. And God made counselors. Like, I'm so grateful that my pastor talks about going to his own therapy. I mean, I so appreciate that. There are religions, such as mine included, that therapy can be a negative thing, that it shows your distrust in God, or you don't have enough faith. That is not true, and don't let nobody tell you that lie. That's a lie. And I know if God made me and I was a counselor and I knew I was called to do that, then I know for sure that it is not something that God frowns upon. So that's for those of you who are struggling there. But don't think, yes, say your prayer, do your devotional, read your Bible, and make an appointment with your therapist. If you're someone who's been to therapy and just haven't been in a while, and you went for this thing, or maybe when your relationship ended, and so you're done, go and just do a check in. I believe in at least a yearly check in with the therapist. If you're not in it right now, just go and talk one session. If you feel like you want to go back, good. If not, great. Go back next year. But always have these check ins with yourself, but seek professional help. And from my own personal life, my own personal story, recently my dog was attacked. I don't know if y'all know I have a dog, but he's not here. I'll bring him up next time. But my dog Perfecto was attacked by a much larger dog. He's a Chihuahua. While we were just on a regular morning walk, doing our regular morning routine every day for the last 9 years that I've had him. And a dog came out of nowhere and attacked him. And that 30 seconds changed everything for me in terms of dealing with the post traumatic stress of it all. I'm still like dealing with it. But so much so, like my morning routine has changed. Like we don't walk in the morning. I'm not walking around here because I don't feel safe. When I've always felt safe. I've been in my neighborhood for 20 years and I don't feel safe just walking down the street. And I feel paranoid and those kinds of things, right? And so it's important for me to make sure that I talk to my therapist, right? And that I monitored and was aware of myself and how I was feeling and noticing these differences in my personality and how I showed up and how I felt. Because it was certainly hard to focus at work, right? Like it happened right before work. I wasn't going to work that day or the next day. I couldn't do it because I wasn't able to really focus or concentrate. But being able to know that I could go and talk to my therapist, I didn't have to tough it out on my own. Didn't have to be strong, and I didn't have to make people think that I'm okay, I'm all right. Like, no, I'm not good. I'm doing my best. And that is my motto. When people ask, and in this season of my life, and not even from that incident, but just in general, over the last 9, 10 years. How you doing? My best. This is my best. And so even though that is my best, I know that I needed help. I needed to talk to someone. I needed to feel these feelings, even though they were very uncomfortable. I still needed to talk them through. I still needed the tools to make sure that I was healing, right? But that I wasn't trying to rush myself through the process and be a superwoman so that everybody else could feel comfortable with me. No, I'm not feeling good. No, I'm not having a good day. No, I this is not a good time for me. And I think like that's important for us as women who have done it all, been it all, when we're hurting and when we're struggling, that we say it, that we talk about it, and that we have those spaces to do so. So having a therapist is important. Having good friends is important to be able to just talk to. Finding those things you need to do, finding those tools that help you throughout the day when you're struggling, until you get to a better place. Am I where I was the day after it happened? No, I'm beyond that. But am I back to the good old me? No. And I don't know if I'll be back to the good old Neca from that perspective, right? Maybe something will be different about me as I go through this process. And if it is, that's okay, right? We're not meant to stay the same. We have to change and shift. So those are my thoughts about midlife and mental health, and I'm certainly looking forward to talking more about that. And if there's anything I said here that resonated with you and that you'd like to learn more about, drop that in the comments because I really want to, give as much thought to that because I think everything starts here, right? In our minds, in our perspectives, and it colors how we live life. And I think this is such a pivotal part of life. It's such a beautiful, beautiful, amazing part of life. And I don't want you to miss it. I don't want you to miss the beautiful and amazing part of it. Right? So that's my time today. Thank y'all for coming and hanging out with me. Check back soon because we got more to come. Subscribe, like, share this with your friend that you know need to see a therapist. Please share this with them. And I hope it's helpful to you too. Take care. Bye, y'all.